All right, guys, let's learn how to clean a dining room. These things are pretty easy. You always want to make sure and get from, especially in a dining room, get from the top down, right? Get that stuff dusted, make sure it all falls down so that you can vac it up or wipe it down, right? So do that. And then once that's done, you're going to want to go ahead and dust the furniture and the decorations and everything in there. Like in the other rooms, I really recommend an ostrich feather duster. It's the same kind that the French maids use, right? So anyways, dusting the furniture and stuff, ChatGPT says you have 5 to 7 minutes. Remember, the things that we're doing here with the time estimates are all from ChatGPT. If you need more time, make sure and tell Jeannie. She's going to make sure and add it so that you end up having enough time to do the task, okay? So anyways, dusting furniture, you're going to want to use like a microfiber cloth or, like I said, the ostrich feather duster. I usually find that the feather duster works better for that, except for with flat surfaces, right? Flat surfaces, perfect for a microfiber. So make sure when you're doing things, you want to pick the items up and get underneath them as well. So if there's like candles on the table, get that sucker clean. So anyways, you're going to want to dust the dining table, the chairs, the shelves, decorations that are there. Get into the details, okay? Move small items and clean underneath them, right? So here's some pro tips, okay? Work from the top to the bottom, okay? We already said that. I just can't drill that into you enough. And then, if there's things in there in the dining room, like which usually there are, is hard furniture, wood furniture. We have the Murphy's oil soap that's perfect for wiping those down. You might want to, if it looks really expensive, you might want to ask them if you should, if they want it done. Usually it's going to be a yes, but you never know. Maybe it's an heirloom, right? So make sure and check chair legs, right, for dust and sprinkles of food and stuff like that. You really want to look around there because, people spill, kids spill, things like that happen. And, and you're there, you can, if you look good, maybe you could see some, get it off of there, be a hero. Anyways, so wiping down dining chairs and table, the ChatGPT says this takes about 5 to 8 minutes, right? So what you want to do is spray the table with surface cleaner. Okay. In this, I'd probably use our handy dandy 409, right? Make sure and spray it down. You want to let that sit for a little bit, to make sure and it has a chance to do its job. If it's, it looks unfinished, right? Raw wood, don't clean it. The best you can do is use a dry microfiber and dust it off. Whoever would have that, I can't believe that they've eaten on it before. So aside from that, wipe the tabletop, the edges, chair seats, the backs, make sure and get detail in between all those little areas. Again, dry it to avoid streaks or water spots. So some pro tips on this one, right? So check for food splatters, again, underneath the table. Kind of just get on the look if you can. Use a toothbrush for grooves, right? There's usually a spot that separates to make it longer. Make sure you get inside there to kind of, keep it from sticking later. You want to disinfect it if it's used frequently, and that's important. Don't forget that to get it to, actually do the job and kill the germs, you want to let it sit there for like 30 seconds, okay? So vacuum the rugs, mop hardwood floors, make sure and get the floor looking really nice. When people walk in, they look at the floor and that's how they judge you, right? Especially in the dining room. Move the chairs to reach all the areas, right? And then clean underneath the table. Make sure you vacuum underneath there. And then use the crevice tool along the baseboards inside there, right? You slide the chairs out, safely. Shake out the small rugs if needed before you vacuum. But again, if you've already dusted, it's probably not a good idea because you're going to kick all that stuff up. Maybe go outside and do it, right? So dust the baseboards, okay? Just like we've been doing before, go ahead and use a dry, usually like the thing you use to get cobwebs out of the corner, or a dry microfiber cloth, something like that, and get that dust off the top there, okay? Any sort of smudges, things like that, use your handy dandy magic eraser. Those things work incredible miracles. Anyways, check along chair rails if they're present. Usually where the hand sits, there can be, a little bit extra soiling there. And then, like the other areas, spot wipe walls and doors. This is really important in this room because people eat, right? So things happen, kids exist. Anyways, ChatGPT says that takes about 3 to 5 minutes. You're going to want to spray onto the cleaner, not the wall. That's really important. You want to make sure wipe near light switches, doorways, windowsills, molding, things like that. And, like I said, you're going to spray that chemical into the cloth and just wipe it down. If you're sure that it's really clean, these are good areas to show with your white glove, right? So again, use magic erasers for heavy scuffs, wipe it dry to prevent streaks, okay? Anyways, so then when you're done, vacuuming and get all that stuff out of there, you want to straighten the chairs and the decor, make sure it's back on the table the way it was, okay? And then you want to align the chairs evenly around the table. So if they were all, chaos before, make sure and put them back so they look nice, right? So some pro tips, right? So, if the seat cushions are upholstered, just kind of fluff them up a little bit, right? Vacuum them. Wipe the centerpiece items if they're dusty, okay? These are, again, little details. ChatGPT says the average dining area takes about 30 to 45 minutes. If it's done thoroughly, one crew member, 35, 45 minutes. With two people, 15 to 25 minutes if the tasks are split up fair and evenly, okay? So that's how you clean a dining room.